Good evening children, welcome to Turito, the online classes for school foundation program. Welcome to class 7 discussion with respect to the chemistry topics that we are concerned. And in the last class we have discussed about the classification of matter into different categories like pure substances and mixtures. So matter on physical classification we have seen they are classified into solids, liquids, gases, etc. Okay. Now here if on the chemical basis if we observe, matter can be classified into two categories, one is pure substances, other is mixtures. The pure substances are again further classified into two categories, the one is elements and other is compounds. Elements we have seen there are around 118 elements that are available in the periodic table, and the elements are further classified into metals, non-metals and metalloids. We have gone through these metals, non-metals and metalloids, we have discussed their properties, we have even concentrated on the differences between the metals and non-metals and their location, metal where they are located in the periodic table and how the non-metals are located in the periodic table. Once you recall, generally metals are generally existing as solids at room temperature, and in the periodic table if we observe more than 75% of elements are metals, and where they are occupying the left side portion of the periodic table. Of course the middle portion and left side portion completely occupied by metals. And when you observe the non-metals, most of the non-metals are gases at room condition, and non-metals are occupying around a small portion and the top side of a right side. Right top side is generally the non-metals are going to occupy their position, and around we have 12 non-metals and dozen non-metals, that is 12 elements as non-metals, they are occupying the right top position. And in between the metals and non-metal one bridge is present, one gap is present, that we call them as metalloids. Metalloids are the elements which are going to exhibit the properties of metals as well as non-metals. So they are going to form a bridge, they are going to be the middle of the metals and non-metals. There is a separation that we can clearly see from metals and non-metals in the form of metalloids. Okay. We have even discussed the metalloids as well. In the previous class we have even gone through the compounds, different types of characteristics of the compounds, how the compounds are going to be formed. Generally compounds are obtained by the combination of the elements. When the elements are going to react with one another in a fixed ratio, compounds are formed, and we have discussed the compound characteristics like water, ammonia, etc. Okay. And now if you observe in the case of mixture, the other side of the chemical classification of matter, if you observe we have mixtures. So mixtures are further classified into homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures, right. Homogeneous mixture means here the, of course how we are getting the mixture, mixture is going to be obtained by the combination of two or more pure substances. When two or more pure substances are mixed together, we end up with the formation of a mixture. Mixture is formed, and in that case the two components are mixing together in a uniform fashion, we get a homogeneous mixture. If the two components of the mixture are mixed in a not in a uniform fashion, in that case we have end up with the formation of the heterogeneous mixture. Okay. So that is how we have taken the example. Sugar solution is best example for homogeneous mixture. Sand in water is taken for the, oil in water is taken for the heterogeneous mixture. Okay. Even we can take rice with the stones in it. Okay. That is also a heterogeneous mixture. Right. Today let us focus on some of the concepts, the chemical classification of matter, the main level examination questions of chemical classification. Okay. So let us first see, of course as we see the main level questions from the chemical classification, most of the times we get a theory based questions. Okay. Most of the times we get theory based questions. So you should be very careful in identifying the options. Of course there may be some confusion present with the options that are available, so you have to choose the options in a clever fashion. Okay. Right. Pure substance is dash in nature. Whenever we say pure substance, for example if we say water is a pure, if we have pure water with us, how it is? It is homogeneous in nature. So whatever may be the taste that you are going to take, for example if you have one bottle, one big bubble of water, if you are taking the big bubble of water into the different vessels or different containers, if you taste the water, the properties of water all are same thing, same can be observed. So, it is same throughout. So, the composition is same throughout, and thereby pure substances generally considered as homogeneous in nature. Pure substances are homogeneous. Mixtures, most of the times mixtures will be heterogeneous. Okay. So, mixtures, most of the times mixtures are heterogeneous, very few mixtures are homogeneous in nature. Okay. Even we can take air. Air is a best example for homogeneous mixture. Air. Okay. Air is a best example for homogeneous nature. Pure substances, whether you take a pure sugar, pure sodium chloride, pure salt, okay, pure water, all are homogeneous. Whenever we say pure substance, it is homogeneous only. So, it is exhibiting homogeneous nature. Okay. Which of the following is a liquid element? So, we have to identify liquid element from the following. So, which of the following is a liquid element? So, which is liquid element? Calcium. Calcium. So, Ca means calcium. Calcium is a metal. What is calcium? Calcium is a metal. Helium. Helium, He. So, helium is a noble gas. So, it is a noble element. Okay, 18th group element, it is a gaseous one. So, it is a noble gas. Hg. What is Hg? Mercury. Mercury. Mercury is a metal. Mercury is a metal, but it is existing as liquid at a room temperature. Mercury is a metal, but it is existing as a liquid. Okay. Sodium. Na is sodium. Okay. Sodium is also a metal. So, generally metals are solid at room temperature except the helium. Helium at room conditions will exist in liquid form. Okay. Except the mercury, all metals are solids. All metals are solids, but mercury in nature exists as a liquid form. So, it is a liquid metal. So, which of the following is liquid element? Mercury is a liquid element. So, option C is the correct option in this case. Okay. Can you please identify this one? Which among the following is a metal? Which among the following is a metal? So, please go through the options given and identify the metal that is seen in this case. Fluorine, F means fluorine. F means fluorine. Okay. O means you know it is oxygen, atom of oxygen. N means nitrogen. N means nitrogen. Na means sodium. Na means sodium. Okay. So, if we observe in nature fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen and sodium, which is existing as a metal? Fluorine, we know it is a non-metal. It is a non-metal. Fluorine is non-metal. Oxygen, non-metal. Oxygen is also a non-metal. Nitrogen is a non-metal. Nitrogen is also a non-metal. Sodium is only the element in the given options which is metal. Okay. So, which is metal in the following? Sodium is the metal. Okay. Sodium is the metal in the given options. Okay. Right. So, D is the correct answer. So, you have to be thorough with some of the elements which are located in the left side of the periodic table and which are located at the right side of the periodic table. And of course, if you remember non-metals, you can easily identify other as metals. If you remember non-metals, because the non-metal number is very low, okay, only 12 elements are existing as non-metals. So, if you can remember the 12 elements which are non-metals, of course, the remaining most of them generally taken as metals. Of course, we have some non-metal metalloids in between, but most of them are metals. So, like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, sulfur, phosphorus. If you remember, these are the only elements which are non-metals in non-metal in nature. Okay, they are non-metals, and other elements are generally metals. So oxygen, fluorine, nitrogen coming here. So except all these ones, the one which is given as a D, sodium is the metal. Sodium is the metal. Okay. Metals are generally dash and ductile. Metals are generally dash and ductile, malleable, non-malleable, acidic, insulators. Malleable and ductile. Metals are malleable and ductile. What do you mean by malleability? Malleability means making into thin sheets. Metals can be beaten up to convert into thin sheets. So that is called as malleability. Then what is ductility? Ductility, we have discussed this one also. Ductility means it is drawing into wires. Okay, drawing into wires. So wire formations. Wire formation is ductility. Metals are generally ductile and as well as malleable. Metals can be beaten up into very thin sheets and they can be drawn into a thin wires. Okay, so they are malleable and ductile, and the elements which are not malleable and non-ductile are non-metals. Non-metals are generally non-malleable, they cannot be drawn into sheets, and they are non-ductile. They are not going to exhibit any ductility property. So metals only exhibit the ductility as well as malleability. Okay, very good. So option A is the correct option in this particular case. Yeah, the property due to which metals can be beaten into sheets is called. Please identify the option. I will be back in 1 second. Yeah, have you identified the property due to which the metals can be beaten up into sheets? So just now we have discussed what is ductility. Ductility is drawing into wires. Okay, what is ductility? Ductility is drawing into wires. So malleability is drawing into or taking into sheets form. So here the property due to which metals can be beaten up into sheets is malleability. So malleability is the property by which we can convert the metals into sheet form. Very thin sheets are going to be formed. Okay, and similarly ductility means drawing them into the wires. So wire formation is ductility. Because of the ductility and malleability, we are using metals in very huge form. Okay, we are using the metal sheets. How we are getting the iron sheets for covering the house? Because of the malleability property. How the women are enjoying the gold ornaments? Because of the ductility property. So because of the drawing into wires, so we are going to get the beautiful ornaments from gold, right? So gold is a metal, it exhibiting the ductility property, right? Okay. Metals exhibit electro dash valency. Metals exhibit electro dash valency. So here metals means these are the elements which are capable of losing the electrons. So they lose easily electrons. They lose the electrons easily. Okay. Whereas non-metals, if you observe, they are going to gain the electrons. They are going to gain electrons. Okay. For example, we have an atom, neutral atom A, whether it is can be a metal, let us say, okay, it is losing an electron. When it is losing an electron, when negatively charged, electrons are negatively charged, right? When electron is going out, neutral electric negative charge is going out, so automatically that will get a positive charge. So what we are getting? We are getting a cation. Cation is a positively charged species, generally called as cation. Let us suppose we have another element, okay, B, and it is taking one electron, it is accepting one electron, therefore I am writing it as plus one electron, converting into B with a negative charge. Since it is accepting, since it is neutral in nature, accepting a negative charge, so it is getting a negative charge. It is neutral, losing one negative charge, so it get a one positive charge. So one negative charge is obtained, this one. So a species with a negative charge is called as anion. Okay. Neutral atom, when it loses an electron, it converts into cationic form. When a neutral atom gains the electron, it converts into anionic form. Okay, you should remember these points, because we come across most of the times these species only when we are discussing the next chapters. Okay. So here cation is going to be formed by the loss of electron, anion is going to be formed by the gain of electrons. So which is losing the electron? A is losing electron and forming the cation. Which charge is obtained here? Positive charge. So therefore here we can say that these are going to be electropositive, okay, which is gaining the electron, converting into anion, having a negative charge, so they are called as electronegative. So the element which is going to lose the electron, is called electropositive element, and the element which is going to gain the electron is called electronegative element. Okay. So generally the species which is converting into cation will show electropositive valency. The species which is converting into anion will exhibit electronegative valency. So which is losing the electron here? Here metals are losing the electrons. So since metals are losing the electrons, metals are electropositive in nature. Okay. Which kind of valency we can expect for metals? Metals will show electropositive valency. Okay. Whereas non-metals, since they are gaining the electrons, so they will show electronegative valency. So electronegative valency is seen with respect to the non-metals. Electropositive valency is seen with respect to the metals. So metals will be taken as electropositive elements. Therefore metals are called electropositive elements. Why they are called as electropositive elements? They are forming the positively charged cations by losing the electrons. When they lose the electron, they convert into positively charged species, so they can be taken as electropositive elements. Whereas non-metals are called electronegative elements. Why they are called as electronegative elements? Non-metals have the capacity to accept electron. When they are accepting electron, they are converting into negatively charged species, that is anion. So therefore they are called as electronegative elements. Metals are electropositive elements, non-metals are electronegative elements. So metals will exhibit electropositive valency. So what kind of valency we can expect from metals? Metals will always exhibit electropositive valency, whereas non-metals will exhibit non-metals they will exhibit electronegative valency. Okay, non-metals will exhibit electronegative valency, whereas metals will exhibit electropositive valency. So option B is the correct option in this case. Okay. Which of the following metals is highly ductile? Just now we have seen what is ductility? Drawing into wires. Okay. So the metals which can be drawn into wires. So which of the following metal? If they are going to give us 4 options of metals, and then we have to identify which one is having high ductility. So looking at the answer, you can easily select the option. What is that? Gold. AU nothing but gold. Okay. So gold has high ductility. Which is having high ductility? Gold has high ductility. Sodium, potassium, they are soft metals. Okay, they are soft metals. soft metals, and their ductility is low, okay, very low ductile, they are showing low ductility. Whereas if you observe the fourth option, it is mercury. Mercury is liquid metal. When we have a liquid, can we expect the ductility? No, not at all. So mercury does not exhibit any ductility because it is existing as a liquid at room temperature. So we don't have any ductility. So it is liquid metal, okay. So sodium and potassium, they are soft metals, and soft metals generally their ductility will be low only. But the noble metal gold has high ductility. Because of the high ductility that is possessed by the gold, though gold ornaments can be prepared. So the easily we can prepare different ornaments of golds. So the women are very lucky enough that gold has high ductility. Because of the high ductility of the gold, different ornaments are going to be prepared. They are drawn into very thin wires, and they can be made into the sheets as well, okay. So the ductility, highly ductile element among the following is gold, Au, okay. I think you know the symbol, gold is represented as Au, okay. Luster and sonority are the properties associated with. What is luster? Luster is nothing but the shining property, shiny property, okay. Luster is shiny property, shining, which will shine, gold ornament will shine, silver ornaments will shine, right, metal, iron ornaments will shine, copper ornaments will shine, steel ornaments will shine, seed bowls will shine. So the shining property is always associated with metals, okay. What about the next one, sonority? What is sonority means? Sonority means the ringing sound. Sonority means ringing sound production. So which is going to produce ringing sound? Metals will produce the ringing sound. Take two iron rods, hit one with the other, automatically you can see the ringing sound, okay. Take two silver rods, two golden rods, two copper rods, two nickel rods, test the ringing sound that is produced. So generally when metals are hit with some hard substance, they are capable of producing the ringing sound. So the ringing sound production is taken as sonority, okay. Luster means the shining property. So sonority and shining properties are associated with metals. Of course there are some non-metals which are going to have the luster property. For example, iodine. Iodine exists as a solid. So we can see some shiny property can be seen with the iodine, okay. So iodine is a non-metal, but most of the metals are showing luster as well as the sonority property. So sonority and luster are the properties that are associated with metals only, okay. Right, let us see next one. Materials that allow electricity to pass through them completely are called. So the materials, so for example, if I am going to take a metal rod and if I am connecting the wire to it, so automatically metal will conduct the electricity, so electricity will pass through. If you touch the metal rod, automatically we can feel the shock, okay. The electricity current can be even passed through our body so that we can see the conduction, okay. So because of the conduction that is available, that is possible for the metals, okay. Metals generally allow the electricity to pass through them or heat to pass through them. We have discussed that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. So here what they are asking, the materials which are going to allow the electricity to pass through them completely without any disturbance, okay. So generally those materials, the materials which allow electricity to pass through them, they are called as conductors. They are called as conductors. Materials which allow the electricity to pass through them are called conductors. Human body is also a good conductor, okay, because of the presence of the conductivity. And there are some materials which will not allow the electric current to pass through them, okay. They do not allow the electric current to pass through them. There are some materials which will not allow the electric current to pass through them. They are called as insulators. What they are called? They are called as insulators. And we have some materials, they are called as semiconductors. They are called as semiconductors. They will have the conductivity property in between insulators and conductors. They do not have conductivity high as compared to that of the conductors, but they will have some conductivity. They are not insulators. Insulators, they are generally they are not going to conduct the electricity. So the materials which do not conduct electricity are called insulators. The materials which allow the electric current to pass through them are called conductors. Okay. So here what we have to identify? We have to identify the material which is going to conduct the electricity. They are called conductors. Okay. Right. Insulators, they won't allow the electric current to pass through them. Semiconductors, they are going to show the conductivity in between insulators and conductivity. So conductors have high conductivity, semiconductors have medium conductivity, insulators have zero conductivity. So they don't have any conductivity, insulators. Okay. So here they are asking us to identify the material which allow the electric current to pass through them completely. They are called as conductors. Okay. Right. Oxides of non-metals are. So here oxygen is the capable of reacting with almost all elements in the periodic table. When oxygen is reacting with the metals, we get corresponding metal oxides. Okay. And similarly, when non-metal is reacting with oxygen, the corresponding non-metal oxide is going to be obtained. Non-metal oxide. Okay. Metal will react with oxygen, give you metal oxide. Non-metals will also react with oxygen, will give you non-metal oxides. So metals and non-metals both are reacting with oxygen, giving the corresponding metal oxide and non-metal oxides. Okay. So oxygen is capable of reacting with almost all elements in the periodic table except the gold, platinum and palladium. Gold, platinum, palladium, they are known as noble metals. They are called as noble elements. So oxygen won't react with the noble elements, but it is going to react with almost all the other elements. So when metals are reacting with oxygen, we get metal oxide. When non-metals are reacting with oxygen, we get non-metal oxides. Right. Metal oxides, generally they are going to exhibit basic nature. Metal oxides exhibit basic natures, whereas non-metal oxides, they are acidic in nature. For example, here magnesium oxide, sodium oxide. So all these are basic in nature. The oxide that are formed by the metals, they will show basic nature. Whereas the oxides of non-metal like sulfur oxide, okay, phosphorus oxides, carbon oxides, they are all acidic in nature. Chlorine oxide, okay, bromine oxides, they are all acidic in nature. So the acidic nature can be seen in the case of non-metals, and metal oxides generally they are basic in nature. Of course, some of the transition element oxides, metal oxides, they even amphoteric in nature as well as they going to exhibit acidic nature. Again a question may arise, what is amphoteric oxide? Amphoteric oxides means these are the oxides which won't react with which are going to exhibit basic nature as well as acidic nature. Okay, exhibit basic nature as well as acidic nature. They will react with the bases, they will react with the acids as well. They are called as amphoteric. We also have the neutral oxides. Neutral oxide means they won't react with the acid, they won't react with the base. They are called as neutral oxides. So we have 4 different types of oxides we come across: acidic oxides, basic oxides, amphoteric oxides, neutral oxides. Basic oxides are formed from metals. Okay, acidic oxides are formed from non-metals, and there are metalloids. Generally metalloids will give us amphoteric oxides, and there are some elements which are going to give us oxides which are neutral in nature. They won't react with the acid, they won't react with the base. Okay, so here if you observe, metals will give us oxides and those oxides are basic in nature. Non-metals will react with oxygen, will give us non-metal oxides. Non-metal oxides are acidic in nature. So here oxides of non-metal are acidic in nature, they are acidic. Okay, metals will react with the acid and liberate dash kind of gas. So here if for example if we are going to take sodium when reacting with the hydrogen chloride, what kind of gas we can expect? We can expect the formation of NaCl and hydrogen gas. So hydrogen gas is going to be liberated in this process. So whenever metals react with the acids, it is going to liberate the hydrogen gas. So hydrogen gas is going to be liberated when metals react with the acids. Element present in diamond and graphite. As we have discussed, diamond and graphite both will contain carbon. So what is the element that is present in diamond as well as in graphite? In diamond and graphite, the element that is present is carbon. Okay. So in case of diamond or in case of graphite, if you observe, it is a combination, both are diamond as well as graphite are allotropic forms of carbon. They are allotropic forms of carbon. Okay. Right. I think you have got the clear idea about the question that we are going to see in the case of main level examination as far as the chemical classification of matter is concerned. I will come up with some more interesting topic in the next class. Until then, have a nice time, ma. Thank you.